Awesome. So my name is Nigeria Chambers of Big Gold Belt Media. Kelly, it is a pleasure to once again talk to you and so much to catch up on. But how are you doing first off?
I am doing great. I am back in Atlanta on season 3. Super, super excited to be starting this next season. So much going on.
I am glad that you said that because my first question is, in the beginning of season 2, we did see Detective Brian and we seen Detective or Agent Chambers come in and make the bus. And I realized that, we didn't see Detective Jin there. So what is happening? But maybe we don't get quite there quite yet. But I started to piece things together. I was like, where's one of my favorite characters at?
Look at you, like putting all the puzzle pieces together already. I mean, there's a lot going on here. This show is so full of surprises and little tidbits, right? They keep dropping these little tidbits about what happens in the future. And we all think we know the story of BMF because we know how it ends, right? But
Yes.
But it's still, I mean, there's still all of these like little surprises and these little nuggets of information that they like to drop every once in a while. And and to tell you the truth, I don't even know what's going to be happening. Every time I get like a new script, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Let's just keep it 100 right now. First off, you mentioned season 3. Congratulations, you all absolutely warranted that. Coming in season 2 hot. Obviously the premiere, getting to see it with the fans and understanding that you knew you all had something. And then after that, the news came out that this was going to expand. And I've been lobbying every single time, every episode, every recap that we do here at our channel. I've been saying, I need the spinoff, Detective Chin and Detective Brian. This is what I need. This is what we want. It has to be a reality at this point. Tell me something.
Hope so. From your mouth to, I guess, producers' ears. Let's do that.
Absolutely. But I think the really the importance here with the conversation, because I love you, first of all, I just want you to know that, and I can probably talk to you about a bunch of different things, all of your roles in the past, voice acting to actually physically acting and whatnot. We could talk about a lot of things, but I think we need to tap into Detective Jin mentally. I want to know where she stands, because I said, and I know a lot of folks' focus is going to be about this intimate scene that Detective Jin and Detective Brian has had. And I said, I didn't quite see that. I saw it exactly as like hey, a lot's going on. I need to decompress. That's what it is. I think people are thinking it's going to go into some type of romantic whatever, but I don't see that. I see this was like almost as a job or an assignment, as I say, just as a moment to just decompress.
No, I think you're right in a way, because that's kind of, they've got so much going on. They're under so much pressure at the moment. And I think that it starts off that way. And a lot of relationships kind of start off that way, right? You're like, and then the next thing you know, you're like, oh, whoa, wait, I'm catching some feels here, right? Because there's a lot, in their partnership. I think when you spend that much time with somebody so many hours in the day, it's hard not to get to know the person and really, it's so much easier to have like a one night stand with a stranger. But when you're doing it with a partner, somebody that you got to see every single day, it's hard to keep it that way. So I think that that there's some, as much as they can have going on and still be professional at the same time. Right?
Absolutely.
But in reality, this is what I learned in doing all of this research, right, for the character, that most women who are cops or, on the police force somehow, they always end up with other cops, because I think it's such a difficult job, and it's so hard for men who are not in law enforcement to understand this world, that they can't really be with a woman who is in that world and deep in it. So
Yeah.
I think, them having a relationship, sleeping together is sort of expected almost.
Yeah. Yeah. I and like because it's like a cake. There's so many layers to this because I
Oh,
absolutely see that. And I think the other thing is too is the introduction of family. She mentioned about having such a good time just being with his son and his son's friend and just watching movies and like you feel that. And then the vulnerability of telling Detective Brian about self-harming and having to overcome that, but everybody has their thing. And then
yeah,
obviously the biggest layer here is the trust. As Detective Jen said bright and early, I need transparency if we're going to do this. So
right.
now, with all of that being said, where does Detective Jen stand mentally after the sexual encounter with each other, unloading all of that into him? And he still seems kind of reserved, but for Detective Jen, where does he stand at emotionally now, offloading that all to him?
I think in this episode, I think she is in a better place as far as trust goes, because he seems in her eyes to be bringing her in, right, with some of the
Yeah,
stuff that he's doing. I mean, she is all in. She's
yeah,
made the investment. She is, she's all in on his mistakes as well, right, trying to help him cover some stuff up. But and then also, of course, meeting the son and seeing the human side to him. I think that's what really, grabs her, right, is seeing him as a
yeah,
father, as a human being. And so yeah, that's, I think she's in a place where she's feeling more comfortable with the partnership at the moment, even though he's taking her into some dark stuff. But Jin
okay,
is used to that. That's been her life. She's always been fighting off the
yeah,
demons.
yeah. And I think and there's even a bigger layer. This is why I love this character. This is why I love the casting here. And as we said when we talked in the junket before the season started, I said that like you had such a powerful scene very early in the season. I knew it was just going to keep unloading and unloading and unloading. You're still a woman, a woman of color in not only just a job in a community that's not so accepting of it, but constantly reminders in every step that she does, which is also another burden or a
Absolutely.
weight that she carries. Um, so with all of that, how much of Detective Jen, and I also talked about like the aesthetic of her home, where you can tell that the home is pristine. She doesn't spend a lot of time there because it feels alone. So I would love to know where do we kind of see Detective Jen when she's not working? Where is she at mentally when there is no companion, there is no Brian, there's nobody pushing her, there's no job? What is that moment of isolation feel like for Detective Jen?
I don't know that she knows how to decompress. I
Yeah,
think when she is alone, those demons come out more, right? I mean, I think with all of us, the best way to avoid whatever is going on is trying to keep ourselves busy, right? Keeping ourselves busy with work, busy with responsibilities, busy with relationships, all of that stuff. So I think what it is she is so busy trying to avoid her inner demons, and she uses her work to get out of her head, because goodness knows if she's in her head too much, then all of that stuff just comes flying out, and we see the scars, right? She's not
yeah,
just mental scars, she's literally scarring herself.
yeah.
So you see it all over her. So yeah, I think Jin is constantly in this inner battle, just constantly trying to
Yeah,
avoid feeling, you know
yeah.
feeling the pain of her past, of losing her
And
sister. And it's got to be hard
I
being an Asian woman on the force, in the 80s, I mean, there were barely Black cops in the 80s in Detroit, and much less,
Exactly.
female Asian cops. So I can only imagine what the stress is like, and having to prove yourself every single day.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's such a factor that I always want to bring anytime I'm assessing Detective Jin's actions and whatnot. It was just why, and I'm glad we was able to have this conversation, because I know, again, folks would look at this on the surface level and say, "Oh, they hooked up. They're gonna start dating and whatnot." I'm like, it's way deeper than that.
It
It's
is
way
so much
deeper than that.
deeper. The writing
Yeah,
on this
yeah,
show is so good. Nothing is surface level. There is nothing that
yeah,
happens on this show that is just a surface level thing that just
yes,
happens and you're like, "Oh, okay, that was a hookup," or whatever.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
none of it. Every single thing is so well thought, because we've only got 10 episodes to tell this
yeah,
story, right? Per season. And it is jam packed with information and history and story.
yeah,
You cannot blink when you watch
yeah.
this show. You cannot not pay attention for a second. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, final two questions. One question is really quick. Does Detective Jen trust Detective Brian?
Oh, I think that is also a battle for her. I think she wants so much to be
Yeah,
able to
yeah,
trust him. Um, you know, that happens a lot, right? When we want to be in a relationship with someone, we allow
yeah,
ourselves to just sort of look past all these red flags. But being a cop and being as good as she is, she sees these red flags and she cannot help but be aware. As much as she wants to
yeah,
be all in, she keeps seeing all these little things that he is hiding from her. So she's, being a
yeah,
detective, not just with, BMF, but also with her own partner, and maybe, partner outside of work as well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
She's
my
a
last,
lot.
absolutely. And for my last question, I asked Steve this a couple of times. Obviously, the first interview and then at the red carpet. We know about the BMF documentary that eventually these cops and everybody involved sort of becomes rock stars. I think after a while, we see the ambition to want to get Meech turn into a little bit of a celebrity, and I think that we saw that really amplified on the documentary. I mean, every single person that was involved came in and said, "Listen, we were going to get this guy no matter what. He tried to disrespect us with the billboard in front of our office, so we had to kind of compliment the same thing he was kind of giving off." I would love for you to know, do we see Jen kind of give off that persona where we see her kind of get amplified and really, start to heighten the celebrity aspect of going after these guys?
I think anyone who was going after BMF in real life and even on the show, it it has to become personal, right? Because these guys were in your face. They were just, I mean, taking out the billboards, the cars, and the way they were able to mobilize and just run their drugs so freely. And they were so ingenious about the way they were doing things, but it was like, you had to give them props, man, for how amazing they were as an organization, but it made it that much sweeter to be able to take them down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, I wish I can talk to you forever. You're such an amazing person, amazing, like this person, actor, professional. Just so much we can unload and talk about. But I know you have much more to do today. But again, I really, really look forward to more seasons to come and other projects as well. And thank you so much for really giving me that intimate side of Detective Jen, because again, I think the show and the writing is so good, and being able to hear from you and then breaking it all down, it means a lot. And I think the fans will appreciate this.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being so in depth about this show. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Seriously.
Absolutely. 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 Well, thank you so much. And we'll get to talk again very soon, I hope.
I hope so. Take care.